Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Muhammad Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia. On this episode, we have a special guest, Marc Kramer. Marc is the host of the Best Business Minds podcast. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Marc Kramer. Marc, welcome.
Muhammad, thank you so much for having me on your show.
I appreciate the time and let's get going. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to get started with your Best Business Minds podcast?
Well, this podcast got started in March of last year. And the only reason I started is I work with a lot of family businesses and entrepreneurs. And I thought while they have this downtime, I wanted to keep them engaged and learning new things and thinking about how they were going to improve their own businesses. So I thought, what if I interviewed a business book author? So I contacted a friend of mine who teaches at Harvard, and she had just come out with a new business book about how to overcome adversity called, I believe it's called Grind. And her name is Dr. Laura Hung. And so I asked her, like, with 24 hours in advance, I said, Laura, I want to do this program. And would you like being my first guest? And she said, sure. When do you want to do it? And I said, tomorrow. And she goes, will that be enough time to get anybody to even be interested? So I said, I'm going to send out a broadcast email to 10,000 people that I have on my list and see what happens. In the first hour, we had 60 people sign up. By the time she came on, we had 168 people. And after I interviewed her, people said, when are you doing the next one? So I immediately scrambled and contacted other business book authors. And so it took off from there. And now we have people from 32 countries that listen every Friday from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time to different business book authors. And it's live. And so they're able to ask questions through chat.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. Now you're changing lives in 32 countries.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing when I started to look at the spreadsheet of attendees because I track everything. I'm a marketer by professional training. And I saw, my God, people from France, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Panama, Ecuador, Colombia, all these countries. And I was like amazed, India. And so I said, geez, we must be on to something here. And then I was getting authors from around the world sending me their books and then publicists. And I have a lot of Harvard and Wharton authors and Random House and mostly best-selling authors. And the authors like it because it's a live show. So since they can't get out on stage, it's nice to have people listening to them and asking them questions.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. So as being a host, you have learned a lot from almost every author you came as a guest. So you have a lot of wealth of knowledge. Let's try to see how much we can grab from you on this show right now today. So based on the Best Business Mind podcast, what are the top three missteps to avoid when it comes to creating a business mind?
Well, I think that all of them have great intellectual curiosity. And I think that's one of the things that they themselves are all readers themselves, reading both books and online publications. They're big on watching TEDx and other people's podcasts that they're doing. And they're all folks who wanted to take risk and calculate a risk. You know, they're not jumping into a pool without checking if there's water there. But they're people who basically thought, is there a market for a book that I'm writing? Which I think everybody who is a serial entrepreneur, before you jump into something, you think to yourself, is there really a market for what I'm doing? So I learned from them that they were calculated risk takers, intellectually engaged, wanting to learn more all the time.
And what are the top three missteps to avoid, mistakes?
Well, I think the mistakes is that you don't do any planning and you don't see if there's really a problem that you're solving, and whether it's writing a book or starting a venture, that you think it's a good idea, but you haven't asked anybody else if they thought it was a good idea. And I know that Steve Jobs started a lot of ventures, and he said, look, I never did any type of consumer research to see if anybody wanted it, but let's face it, people wanted to listen to music and had been listening to music for a long time. And if they could get a smaller device that would hold all that music, who's not going to want that? So it wasn't like he went off half cocked. So one of the things I learned from all of these authors, and most of them are entrepreneurs, is be well thought out, planned, ask the marketplace what they think of your idea, and see if people are willing to embrace whatever your product or service is before you go out there. And I think the mistakes that people make are starting things without making sure that anybody even cares about what you're doing. I mean, there was I myself have seen, and I've looked at thousands of business plans because I run the Angel Venture Fair, which brings together angel investors and entrepreneurs. And I have a lot of angels who've written books that come out there. And they said one of the biggest problems that they see and that I learned was that people had not really solved the problem. It's a nice to have, but not a must have. And if you have a must have, then people are going to go and beat a path to your door to get whatever that is.
That is amazing and a great.
I guess the other thing that they all said was surround yourself with smart people, smarter than yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times entrepreneurs want to be the smartest person in the room. And that's always one of the biggest mistakes is seeking out people smarter than yourselves, more experienced than yourself, and having them help you.
Yeah, they say if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room, So
Yeah, that's right. Of course.
yeah, wonderful. So, Mark, if we ask you a question like this, what are your own top three success secrets in your business? So we can all emulate from you.
Well, I am somebody who likes to do a lot of listening and do a lot of observation. So all of my ventures that I've started, and I've done over 25 ventures, is that I read about problems that people were having or experienced them. So I have a new venture now called Funding Organizer. And what it does is it allows you to put together all the information you need. It's a common application for applying for a commercial bank loan. And how I came upon this was that I helped 5 clients get bank loans and found out that the process was tedious and time consuming for
Yes.
both the applicant and the loan officer because they send you a PDF form and then they ask you for 3 years of tax returns after they like it. Then every week, every day, you're getting these emails. I said, couldn't there be one list in one application? And nobody was doing it. And now we build it over the course of a year. And in the first 2 weeks, we had 8 institutions sign up to use our service. So
Wow.
I learned that looking for a problem that needs to be solving, talking to the marketplace, listening to what people have to say, and getting feedback. I like a lot of feedback. My kids always tease me that I'll ask 3 or 4 people their thoughts before I do something. And that's because I'm always afraid of my own blind spots. I think as an entrepreneur, we all have blind spots, and we need somebody who will be honest and straightforward with us and tell us what we're missing.
Wonderful. That's one. Two more.
2 more. So the other thing is I always like to surround myself with smarter than people than myself. And I like to make sure I have a diversity of opinions. And that doesn't mean just experiences, but I believe that you want to hire women, you want to hire Black people, you want to hire people from Asia, you want to hire transgender, you want to hire all types of people because everybody has different life experiences and sees things in different ways. So I believe in doing that. And I'm very much a believer in writing everything out. So I like writing plans out. I write plans for clients, buy all my stuff. Everything is always written out so I can see the mistakes that I might be making. Because if you just try to do it off the top of your head, you forget things. So that's important to me.
Wonderful. That is amazing. So, we are speaking with Mark Kramer, the host of Best Business Minds, and the website is thebestbusinessminds.com. So, Mark, why someone should listen to your podcast?
I think the reason you should listen to podcasts is I really bring on the smartest people on the planet. I read a lot of books and then I go and take a look at the books and see if there's substance, see if you can walk away with good information. And I do a cross section. So I have people talking about artificial intelligence, sales, marketing, leadership, customer service. So you get a broad range of information from people who are amazingly experienced but have done a lot of research. I love reading research. My favorite magazine is the Harvard Business Review because I like to read research and see what people say about different things. So you're really getting to hear the smartest people and ask them questions. So when I interview, as I see questions come up, I don't use my questions first. I use the audience's questions first. So the audience likes it. Hence, 73% of our audience are repeat week after week.
That is amazing. So, Mark, who is your ideal guest? So, someone who's watching, they might be want to be your guest.
Well, you would be a guest because I think everybody wants to know the new success secrets. So I think I'm looking forward to getting your book and reading your book and hopefully having you on my show. And lucky for me, I'm booked out all the way through June. I'm looking into the summer now. I'm booked out for 6 months in advance, so which has been great for me. So what I look for is people who are really smart and can provide insightful information to people. I've read books where I thought to myself, anybody would know that. I mean, there's nothing really gleaned from that. And if I'm going to have people spend an hour with me, I want them to feel that that hour is definitely worthwhile spending. So hence, I end up using a lot of authors from and professors from the Harvard Business School, Wharton, Stanford, and other universities who've done a lot of research. And then people who've worked for big corporations. I mean, I've had John Chambers on, who built Cisco's systems. Tim Draper is probably the most successful venture capital in history. Brad Feld, one of the most successful angel investors. And I'm forgetting this gentleman's name, but I had a guy who ends up AI for MIT, and he's only like 31, 32 years old, but he's super off the charts brilliant, where the people who endorsed the book were the head, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, NASA, and people like that, who said this guy was brilliant. When you read the book and you interviewed him, you realized it. And also, I like speakers who are good at conversation. They're very engaging, and they're able to keep their comments short enough that we can get a lot of questions in.
Yeah, no, that's the key part. If the comments short enough. You said you're busy till June. That's good. That person like me who is like doesn't know much, and that give me enough time to prepare for the session.
Yeah, and I read all the books, and I give a list of questions the night before, so
Yeah.
the authors know what I'm going to be asking them. And what they liked the most was I actually read the book. Now, you think about it, you think, well, who has authors on their show that doesn't read the book? But the authors tell me that they get interviewed on shows all the time, and nobody knows anything about the book. They just look at the cover or the inside jacket, and then just shoot common questions that anybody could ask anything about anybody. So I do a lot of preparation for this. I mean, it takes me probably for a 1 hour show about 8 to 10 hours of preparation.
Wow, that's a lot. That's
Yeah, because I read the book, I make notes, I look online for statistical information, I do a lot of research, and of course, then I also market out the show as well.
wonderful. I'm so glad and honored that you are on our guest today, Mark Kramer. So you are a source of wealth of knowledge and inspiration for all of us to model from. So start reading. Reading is the habit, basically.
Well,
So
I'm probably the only guest you've had that doesn't have a bookshelf behind them with all these books. I've noticed that anybody who's ever interviewed has, including people I interview, have all these books because they want to look that they're smart. So I don't know that after people see and hear me, they're going to say, geez, that guy has no books. How smart could he possibly be?
no, it's not showing off. It's actually doing stuff. Actually executing is everything. So, Mark, is there anything you like to share which I didn't ask?
No, I think that you asked great questions. I think the show was terrific. I'm sure that people get a lot out of the show by listening, because you are a good interviewer, because you don't talk a lot while you're interviewing, which I think is key. It's like being a referee in a basketball game. You got to stay out of the way of the players. And so they can hear the player, watch the players play, or in your case, the guests talk about whatever they're talking about. And you're good at asking provocative questions and insightful questions. So that way the audience walks away with takeaways. I mean, you're asking for 3 things about different components of being successful is great for the audience.
So much, Mark. As we are about to wrap up, What would you say as a final word?
I would say the final word that is don't be afraid to try things and fail. I think one of the biggest things about people is their fear of failure. And I wake up every morning, and my girlfriend's always surprised about this, that I have zero fear of failure. I will, if I have an idea, I'll write a plan out and try it. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You have to realize the sun's still going to come up. The world's not keep moving forward, and you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, and you're just going to have to live with that. But if you look at doing something and you don't try it, you're going to have nothing but regrets. And I think we should all live a life without any regrets. So don't be afraid to write that novel or paint that picture or start that business. Don't be afraid. And everything you do, you learn something. Like that's why I'm not afraid to do anything. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've flown helicopters. I've flown planes. I've done all kinds of things. And every time I learn something new from everything that I ever do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Try new things and don't be afraid of failure. That's a key lesson. So to continue learn with Mark and start the journey with Mark, go the business the best business minds.com. THEBESTBUSINESS You can see it on your screen. If you're listening, I spelled it for you. So the business bestbusinessminds.com. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, have the conversation. On the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. All good wishes.
Thank you so much for having me.